Thank you for auditing the Always Positive New Music Review Show hosted by a French professor who is going to draw a parallel between Lana Del Rey and Aesop Rock at one point in this video, and you're going to see that I'm right. I'm going to be reviewing his album Garbology with Blockhead, and it's my second time ever listening to Aesop Rock. I listened to his previous album, I got a lot of good response from his fans, a lot of good response from hip-hop heads. This album is not self-produced, it's all by Blockhead, so that's quite a big difference. And in that video, I made sort of a passing comment, which got a fair amount of reaction from people. That is that I've said I've always had kind of a problem with white rappers. And I said it too flippantly, right? Obviously, you can't quite tell. I am very, very white. That's a joke, of course you can tell. It's not a good joke. I'm nervous about these kinds of topics, so my jokes get worse. It's one of the weird things about humor. When you need it the most is when it abandons you the quickest. But my problem with white rappers, I was trying to think, what is it, you know? And it's not the whiteness. It's actually about hip-hop itself. That what I love about hip-hop and why I study it and why I treat it as a global phenomena, why at the college that I teach at, which I do not represent, but the college which I teach at, I created a minor in hip-hop studies, is because it's an international phenomenon in which all over the world, regardless of race, hip-hop is the voice of the voiceless. So when a white rapper appears in America, it's hard for me to believe that that person is representing that goal of hip-hop, the voice of the voiceless. I am a tall white guy with a good vocabulary. I am not voiceless. I am the most voiced person in human history. And so when someone else, who is a tall white guy with a good vocabulary, shows up, I'm initially hesitant. But this is narrow-minded of me. And I hope that you're starting to type that in the comments right now, and then you're stopping, because I'm admitting that this perspective is very limited. And not only that, it's insulting to hip-hop itself. Hip-hop, as the most dominant genre, as I would argue the most important art movement in the history of human civilization, as it has been created, it has also evolved, and it can go into different directions. It can serve different functions. The art can expand. It doesn't have to be the voice of the voiceless in every society. So in that context, I've come back to really appreciate and study and love Aesop Rock because he certainly expands the art form. I think, you know, with his cadence and with his approach, we can see him, and to some extent, as the logical extreme of Ghostface Killah from Wu-Tang Clan. You know, Ghostface Killah with his amazing attack, great vocabulary, idiosyncratic juxtapositions of words where things don't quite make sense and you try and get them together. I just watched his interview on Drink Champs with Raekwon the Chef, and he just said, you know, half the time I don't even mean anything. I just put these words together because I think they sound cool. That kind of genius with wordplay, that ability to put together different sounds and words and similes and metaphors and put them all together is what Aesop Rock does, but he takes it to the absolute extreme. If it's a little bit bizarre in Ghostface, it's way bizarre with Aesop Rock. And I had a problem. You know, this album's been out for a week and a half. I try to review every album within a week. And I have a little bit of a problem with it because part of me felt like, man, his wordplay, his references, this album is so jam-packed. It's so deep, these references. And then I thought about it. I might piss off some Aesop fans here, but he's not deep. Okay, he is deep, but he's not so deep, you know? I think his vocabulary and his approach and his mysticism, his very effective usage of mysticism, in a similar way that Ghostface can kind of fool you into thinking that everything he says has some kind of secret meaning, I think we could say the same thing with Aesop Rock. I'm not saying it's shallow, it's not, it is deep, but it doesn't go that much beyond, I'm cool, I'm smart, I don't know how to live in this world, existence is futile, and there's a spirit world, but no afterlife, or maybe no spirit world, or maybe no afterlife. Now, those last things about existence is futile and living in a world where you don't know how to be, those are more meaningful subjects, and that's what prevents him from just being a wordsmith, from just being a thesaurus with legs, right? But I think it's helpful for me to free myself of the oppression of his cleverness. To not feel like every reference that he makes, every image, every issue isn't tied together to some sort of crazy underlying message. Now you may be telling me, and this is a dangerous thing for me to say, I'm telling you there is not some master plan that unites every single word on this album. And it's actually quite possible that there is. But I prefer to think that there's not. The same way that I don't want Ghostface to always be talking about something, okay? I finally understood what blood on my Wally's like ketchup means, but not everything has to be like that. Not everything has to have some other meaning. Especially when it's an album like this, which is just so damn enjoyable. I talked about his last album that I reviewed, the Spirit Guide to the Field Guide to the Spirit World. I'm not even sure that's the title. And, you know, I sort of wondered, like, do people, like, listen to this and enjoy it? And that was the main response that I got. Do people really enjoy this? Yes, I listen to it all the time. I've listened to Nothing nonstop. I definitely get it with this project. Maybe I'm just getting more used to his style. But when I say that it's, like, cool and smart, it is, like, so cool and so smart, so filled with all these weird lyrics and turns of phrases which do this thing that I love in hip-hop where they just get stuck in your head, and you just, much like blood on my Wally's like ketchup, you have these lines in your head, and they're a little bit weird and they're a little bit bizarre, but like they just graft into your brain. They become part of your vocabulary. I can already tell, just listening to this album 4 or 5 times, that it has that power. I do like that on each of these projects that I've reviewed, he has sort of different thematic images that keep recurring, which I think might give that illusion of depth, or, to be fair, might be a sign of the real depth that I'm choosing to ignore. UFOs, apples, wolves, crows, being a werewolf, being a vampire, and piss. Lots of piss. This album has more piss play than a Donald Trump honeymoon. It is like really bizarre. Like, I'm sorry, that was a bad joke and I'm not that nervous. You know, like, that's like, all these themes all come together. And I would say, in addition to the piss theme, which is a little bit gross, it's just sort of grossness, like bugs and plasma. And even the title, Garbology itself, is very consciously making reference to garbage. He does a thing which I find interesting, and I think might be the key to why he appears to be so deep. Most rappers say, I'm like this, or I am that. Aesop says, I am all. I am all this, I am all that. And in that bizarre construction, it allows for a freedom. Holy God, there's a gigantic spider over there. I'm sorry. It's not going to get me. I'll show you. I don't edit, so I'll show you at the end of the video. That is a crazy big spider. I'm all spider up your window. The idea of being I am all something. It's not a straight metaphor in which you are the thing, right? A metaphor is I am a spider. A simile is I am like a spider crawling up your window, okay? Whereas I am all, it's like, it's saying that you are like the thing, but not quite. It actually encompasses more of the spirit of the thing, and it really allows him to make more bizarre things, to where you are not just like a spider. You can be like, I am all the fear of spiders on your window. Like, it becomes a much more expansive usage of language. And I just figured that out on this album, and I love it. I love how it permits this movement. I'd say the larger theme of both these albums, and perhaps why he's so popular, is the main recurring theme that comes back, and I'm sorry, I keep looking at the spider, making sure it's not coming this way. You're nervous about Lana Del Rey and the spider. It's fun. He really is into introversion and into the difficulty of living in an extrovert's world. And I think that might be why he reaches out to people so much, because so much rap is about extroversion, so much hip-hop is about being the best and saying you're the best and being out there and saying how awesome you are, whereas he very much seems to be very much an indoorsman. At times, his flow reminds me a lot of Stove God Cooks. Does anyone else hear that? I'll mention it one more time in this video. I don't know if there's what direction the influence goes. I mean, I know Aesop Rock has been around longer. Maybe it's just a coincidence. The production by Blockhead is great, fairly subtle all the way throughout, like it's never super flashy. I do like that he almost always enhances his beat halfway through the first verse. Very capable production, often quite jazzy, some Middle Eastern sounds, some synthesizers, some guitars, mostly just a solid basis for like getting us ready for these awesome lyrics. In order to analyze these songs, what I'm going to do is for every song, I'm going to address two issues. The opening. Much like Ghostface Killah, Aesop Rock knows you have to come out just BAM! Just with like the first line of your song, you don't start with the head, it gets them all confused. You have to just be smacked across the head with an absolute killer, offbeat, bizarre, well-constructed, beautifully cadenced verse, line. And then I'm going to talk about the title references. Where in the song is the title mentioned? Because the titles are often bizarre and intriguing, and they sort of invite you into, what is the song going to be about? I know he's never going to watch these videos, but I can tell you, Spider on the Window is actually a good theme. I'd love to see that in the next Aesop Rock project. Let's make it happen. So the album opens with The Only Picture. And this is a very nice gift to me as an art historian. It's quoting Lucian Freud, the British artist, and he's talking about how he wants every painting that he's working on to be the only painting he's working on, the only painting anyone has ever worked on in the history of humanity. The overt love of art and of creating art and of needing to be the great artist is how we start. And then that leads into my stamp, my homework. If you want to know what he sounds like, go up here and listen to the song Jazz Hands, the first real song on the album. This displays the art of both Aesop Rock and Blockhead. So it's got this simple beat to start from Blockhead and becomes sort of increasingly complex, and it teases becoming something more. There's some swirling synthesizers and strings all the way through. At a certain point you think the drums are going to get going, but we're going to have to wait till the end of the song for the producer to really show off. It's the lyrics that are the heart of this. The opening line to the entire album, love note to the whole F show. F-U-C-K word, love note to the whole F show, postmarked from a lighthouse in the blunt smoke. Dear mother effers, I'm teetering if you must know, wolf at the door like a bug to the fructose. So, like bug and sugar, smart there. The wolf figure that's going to go all the way throughout the album is here. Teetering is interesting. Later on, he's going to talk about how every smart person he knows are teetering. Like all these references show up that are going to show up later, and it just has this ridiculous strength to the album. Like just this real strength that's popping off in this just love note to the whole F show. Just the show and smoke and no and fructose, fructose. Later on in that same verse, he talks about how his niece misses him and building forts with him. And then he goes and says, I am out there down to throw a grapnel at a guard tower, down to spray piss on a cop car. So much piss. It's rage in the form of Renaissance art, can't treat it like a job at the stockyard. So the whole beginning of this album is one of the other themes that we find throughout, which is the importance of art, the importance of the artist. And at this point, some cool synthesizers, a little bit of guitar comes in to complicate a little bit. Blockhead's never going to take away all the energy. He's never going to really do that. And then there's all these verses. There's these lines after lines after lines. Ring around the king of pain, bring acetaminophen. There's a thing where I guess they've done studies and they've determined that he does have the biggest vocabulary in hip-hop. And it feels like he's sort of padding his record at this point. He's like Tom Brady with Super Bowl rings. It's just like, all right, enough. Like, you didn't need to throw in acetaminophen into your, sorry, I have to stop looking at this spider. I'm going to show you the spider now, just because it's walking away, and I don't want to deprive you of this thing. Look at this thing. Look at that thing. See that thing right there? See that? You see him? It's a big, nasty brown spider. All right, now I'm not going to look at it anymore. I got to let it go. Just let it go, Sky. Let it go. It's not going to get you. Whew. That's a first on any of my videos, a spider appearance. So just this acetaminophen, and then keeps going and going, all these lines. And I'm not gonna, like, basically the way you feel listening to an Aesop Rock album is you could quote every single line from every single album and just go, damn, listen to these lyrics. And there's not many rappers who are capable of doing that, right? Step into the room, split an arrow with an arrow. The first trick shot was just to show them that I dabble. I will not be aiming for the apple. Apples are another theme that come throughout the album quite often. This image of splitting an apple, and like it's the William Tell story with the apple on the head and then splitting an arrow with an arrow, talking about his precision. When I said he's not that deep, I do mean it, because all this is saying is I'm badass, right? That's all he's saying. He's just saying I'm badass. But he's saying I'm badass in such a great and edifying way. It's really nice. Go from being chased to playing chicken. Just what a... Get your whole roadmap Pac-Man Black Mask. What a beautiful image of like the road becoming like Pac-Man and chicken. And then we have the title of the song, This Is Not an Ad, hashtag or tap dance, the revolution will not have jazz hands. The revolution will not have jazz hands. A paraphrase of Gil Scott-Heron's The Revolution Will Not Be Televised, but just a fascinating idea that jazz hands themselves are sort of an example of woke culture excess, some people say. You know, that for people who are hard of hearing or who get easily startled, that jazz hands are better than clapping, and so we need to go to jazz hands. So this, like, the revolution will not have jazz hands, I read as a criticism of woke culture, saying that woke culture is not going to be the motor of revolution. Revolution is going to be, you know, spraying piss on a cop car and throwing grapnel at the guard tower. I don't know. Wait, did I really say this? See, that's deep too. I might be really undercutting my point when I just explained how this song outlines the weakness of modern leftism. Okay, good. I can't see the spider anymore. He walked away. Which means most likely he's on the back of your shirt. Sorry to say. At the end of all these lines, we have this instrumental outro, which is very engaging and very cool. Basically, Blockhead is like, all right, listen, I gave you this very simple beat with these swirling strings and synths, but I could have been doing this. The drums come in, these guitar leads come in, going over the strings, a piano outro. It reminds me a little bit of Jail by Kanye on the Donda album, where the drums come in after everything's over. Like, yeah, these were there the whole time. We could have done it, but we're showing restraint. Restraint is a big thing in hip-hop right now, thank goodness, and I think it's a fascinating thing to study. Okay, let's move on to the rest of the album. It'll go a little bit quicker. We'll go with the song Wolf Piss. I'm not joking. It sounds like I'm joking, but I'm not joking about that. A little bit of a less ambitious beat, kind of a simple drum machine, kind of a horror-sounding sound, like ominous low guitar and synthesizer chimes. And the horror theme is emphasized with Sweet Dreams Go Hitchcock. That's the open line here. And then the title is played out with roads paved with pulled pins, hood sprayed with wolf piss. This image that he has of... It's actually pretty interesting that in the previous song, he talked about grapnel, which is not the same thing as shrapnel, but grapnel at the guard tower. And then here, road pin with pins, and then piss on a cop car, and then hood sprayed with wolf piss. So maybe this isn't hood like neighborhood. Maybe this is the car, and then he's the wolf, because quite often he seems to be taking on a werewolf personality here. So I can see how people get lost in Aesop Rock lyrics. I could see that I could easily turn this into a 4.5-hour video of me tying it all together, being like, okay, so he's the Wolfman character who's fighting against the police, and in different times, and he takes different shapes and different forms, but then when he comes back, but then... as towards the end, it's interesting. He just references snow caps, the candy, and I just happen to like non pareil. I like snow caps. Creep Show, he throws snow caps from these nosebleeds. And then here's the part where he's like Lana Del Rey. He says, turn into my blue period. On Blue Banisters, Lana Rey's last album, she talked a lot about Picasso and Picasso's blue period, and about how if he were happier, we wouldn't have the great art of the blue period, which I actually contradict in my video. Check it out if you want. So we have both Lana Del Rey and Aesop Rock making very direct references to Picasso, trying to figure out what the blue period is and if they are making music in their blue period. This is the first reference that I could pick up to a pet crow, this other image of death, but also of intelligence and fidelity. My mom loved crows, so it's a very hard thing for me to talk about crows, to the point where sometimes I'll see a crow and I'm not like a superstitious guy, or super spiritual in terms of like believing in divine intervention, but I usually talk to crows. Like most of the time, if I'm alone and I see a crow, I will just talk to my mother. And I know it's just a crow, but you know what I mean. So it's kind of an interesting thing. I love having the crow being featured because a crow is such a strong image. It's such a strong bird. It's so smart and so everywhere and beautiful and all of that. Another fascinating instrumental outro. Blockhead seems to be showing off again. I think there's like a Middle Eastern oud with some splashy horns as well. Sort of an unlikely pairing of sounds. Léger de main, ledger domain, I don't know how I'm supposed to pronounce this in English, is the next song. A cool jazz, like a very, reminds me a lot of sort of the 90s jazz moment in hip hop. And these drums come in super aggressively. Halfway through the verse, a cool guitar comes in. And the whole song has these great stereo sounds. You have to listen in headphones because you just feel like you're kind of lost in this world of left and right and right and left. All the way throughout the album, they do that a lot. I don't know why more producers don't do this. It's weird. It's weird to me that you have the ability to throw things in different ears and people don't do it. Again, slightly horrific. And then the album begins, the song, the opening line, the right hook to get you going. Chicken noodle thermos, parka munchin' on the army surplus. Chicken noodle thermos, parka marchin' on the army surplus. Over thermals, over thermals, over thermals, over thermals. Look. Actually, this is true. I was planning on listening to this album while walking in the first snow of the season here in Rochester. And I did have my thermals on underneath. But I took them off before the video because I was getting too hot. Bizarre. No thermals, no thermals. This is a theme which I think ties pretty nicely to his other album that I reviewed, The Spirit Guide to the Field World, or Field World to the Spirit Guide, or whatever, where it's sort of a call to adventure. The idea of a chicken noodle thermos, having chicken noodle soup in a thermos, and having the army surplus and going out into the woods. The woods, I think, symbolize both life, sort of the banal life of existence, but also a spiritual realm where you can go journeying into. And there's this, and then in this we have the reference to léger de main, which means like lightness of hand in French. It's basically like anyone who can like do kind of sleight of hand, like kind of like trick you and fool you, right? Like if I was like going like this and then the spider was in this hand. Yeah, I don't know how to do that. I'm edumacated on every threat in the trade, started checking the checker for any ledger domain. So the use of edumacated, on the last album what I liked was how often he would intentionally misuse English as like a different way of flexing, like he's so good with the language that he can mess with it. As far as I could hear, this is the only time on the album, feel free to correct me in the comments, where he does this, where he intentionally uses basically a Homer Simpsonism, edumacated. And there's also a lot of humor in this song. I think, the whole album itself lacks humor, I think. It's not that it's not funny, but it's not as funny as the previous album. But he gives a lot of space to this line, a mall cop told me to get a life, which is pretty funny. And then the entire album's title is in this song, Lion-Hearted Pioneer of High Garbology. This actually bugs me. I don't like this line. I don't mind the idea of garbology. I don't quite understand it. I don't understand exactly what it means other than just sort of like this kind of dirty societal refuse and making it, sort of valorizing it, making it seem important, praising that which is rejected and dejected, the rejects of society. I sort of get that, but I don't like lion-hearted. Aesop is never a lion. Like a lion is beneath him. Why is it not like wolf-hearted or crow-hearted or one of the other animals that makes actual sense in the menagerie of Aesop Rock? Menagerie. I'm getting all Aesop-y with my vocabulary. Next song is called Difficult. Very, very cool beat. More stereo effects going everywhere. You have to listen to this on headphones. I don't know if it's like an oboe or a clarinet, some kind of woodwind there. This kind of rising sound on the right. And the beat is very cool. This is probably definitely my favorite beat on the album. like because the drum beat is just very deep in the pocket. Some odd backwards voices. The opening, pulled pork sliders, headed for story in jorts and horse blinders. There's a little bit of Eminem in this as well, just with his ability to create these kind of weird, weird interior rhymes and unexpected, almost self-effacing references. Because if you're wearing jorts, jean shorts, you're not bragging about anything. The title's in the chorus where he just says over and over again, folks say I'm difficult. And I want to just give another example, take some more time to praise his rhyme craft, his writing, with how he's able to use language and create little like rhythmic power within words, like sets things up and then goes, like really creating a sort of extended rhythm. Almost like a melody of rhythm. I don't really know how to describe it, but like a sustained verse of all these strange words and strange ideas coming through, but he's able to deliver them just so well. Gadzooks, that's how he starts off, the super duper old slang. Gadzooks, it'd behoove you to slow that roll. Around here we turn jokers into smoking holes. I'm a fever dream, I seen trouble nobody knows. Still show his home county how a nova explodes. There's a whole lot of woe on the stove. There's a whole lot of holes in your prose. Gross. So I just, so much about that. Gadzook, it'd behoove you. Like gadzook, it'd behoove you, right? Like behoove is such a pretentious word. You try to use behoove in a daily sentence and you'll get your ass beat. But it works because gadzooks, it behooves you to slow that roll. So gadzooks behoove. Zooks hoove, slow roll. You know? You see what I'm saying? And then just, there's a whole lot of holes in your prose. And then just gross, tagging it with that word gross. Next song is called All the Smartest People. Very cool kind of bell and western sounds. It never quite develops. This is one of the beats where it feels like he's just, the Blockhead is staying back. And the whole opening is just this like, it's like basically not even really a song. It's just one verse. And it's like modern poetry. It's like this guy giving a world-weary speech about being world-weary and about the limits of human knowledge. It's pretty fascinating. Recently, my neighbor spotted me casing my own house. I said I only really like to go in when I go out. So this whole theme of being an introvert. You okay, dude? Yeah, you okay? Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, good, all right. He's putting into rap verse banal conversations. It's sort of like Succession, right? Like the way the Roy family talks in Suggestion. You okay, dude? Yeah, you okay? Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, good, all right. I know every black crow in the city by its first name and its surname and its bird call and its birthday. Look, I'm cursed. I love this image. This, to me, is the best of Aesop Rock because I sort of get it. I sort of get why he's talking about this. I sort of get that he's talking about that's how well he knows his city. I get that he's sort of bragging. I sort of get what a crow means and what it doesn't, but I don't quite. And then here we have the title, which was also referenced in the first song. All the smartest people that I know seem to teeter in a paranoid state, which is tied into a more interesting theme of the correlation between misery and intelligence, that if you're smart, you have to be unhappy. It's not true. All you need to be unhappy is a difficult childhood that you do not reconcile with at any point in your life. That's all you need. You can be smart, you can be stupid. Anyone can be unhappy. There's no class divide. There's no intelligence divide in unhappiness. Oh Fudge, another cool crazy jazz beat, like a stand-up bass sound, halfway through some nice organ stabs. The thematics, the gross thematics of Garbology are on here, like sweat and scum and mold and dripping and gross, and the opening lines, add a couple worms, herbs from the swamp, conjure up a curse, turn a person to a frog. Yeah, just all this just slimy, grossy stuff here. He does, in the title, Oh Fudge, comes from one of the lines in the middle of the song. The bushy-tailed and bug-eyed come in every color, fungi, oh fudge. My new form isn't in the folklore. The new norm wasn't in the brochure. This whole song is just basically him going through a whole bunch of mythical creatures that he could or could not be, including the chupacabra, the goat sucker from Mexican folklore. He talks about eating a whole goat. So throughout this song, it's just, there's no description of what he is. And fundamentally, what is this about? This is about I'm cool. And how do I say I'm cool? I'm a vampire, I'm a werewolf, I'm a chupacabra, I'm a bat, I'm a crow man, I'm all these awesome things. More Cycles has kind of a Scarface soundtrack sound, kind of an 80s synthesizer that cuts out in the last verse. So the last verse is very interesting because the whole thing ends with an instrumental bit with like this very aggravating recorder and someone humming. Again, more references to dog piss on this album, on this song. Ravens under my authority, king of the effing Corvidae. Very specific. You know, he doesn't just, this is the thing. He doesn't just talk about wolves, he talks about Canis lupus, right? That's the Latin name. He doesn't just talk about crows, he talks about corvids, which is the Latin name as well. It's the thing that he does, and he does it well. I think he does it naturally. But it's also very clear that he's researching a lot. Again, the opening gives us this sense of a journey. Canteen, can of beans, no compass, add another bug to the goggles. I suppose we could add bugs as another theme that happens throughout this entire album, but, you know, so we have the canteen. We already have the canteen full of chicken soup, right? So really we have it, but this is a different journey. This isn't to the woods, this is on the roads. More Cycles isn't really a reference to cycles of the sun or cycles of the moon. It seems to be referencing motorcycles. What's funny is they never actually say more cycles in the song. So for the rest of the album, basically every other song on the album, there's one other exception, the title of the song is in the song itself. But here he just references things that are related to motorcycles, such as my same religion as Ram, Flynn, or Tron, referring to the light bikes from the movie Tron. You don't need a reason to Knievel any drawbridge, referencing Evel Knievel, who would jump over drawbridges on a motorcycle. And then the chorus, I could hold a wheelie for a decade, circle any burrow like a bird around a headache. He talks about motorcycles, and he has this image, and it's just adding to the different ways that fundamentally Aesop Rock is capable of saying, I'm cool. I want to be very careful here. The majority of hip-hop expression is I'm cool. Now I would extend that into saying I have worth, which is that whole voice of the voiceless thing, right? Which is why I never think we should ever look down on a rapper for bragging, because it's actually very important, because most rappers come from a part of society that's disregarded or ignored. So them saying I'm the greatest mother effer that's ever lived is not just bragging, it's a sort of proud statement of existence in the face of societal exclusion. So that is what hip-hop is essentially about. It's essentially about, hey, I'm cool, okay? But Aesop Rock finds a lot of different ways of doing it. And we had one song where he calls himself a chupacabra, and here, he's Evel Knievel. Flamingo Pink is a nice change in the beat style, kind of Wu-Tang-ish, a staggered guitar and drums, unsettling piano. The song opens up with the rope goes over the wall for the controller born to hold a stethoscope to a vault. Woolly Willy peel off in a barrel over the falls. This is that real Ghostface style, just all these words. Woolly Willy peel off in a barrel in the falls. Woolly Willy peel off in a barrel over the falls. Woolly Willy peel off in a barrel over the falls. You know, I live about an hour from Niagara Falls, so I suppose I get that. And the rope goes over. I don't quite get what it is. The title is referenced, wicked forces in the wings descending on the simple things, like taffy at the boardwalk under ribbons of flamingo pink. This is where he really just gets super poetic, you know, just really extensive, poetic. It's funny, I've reviewed a lot of underground hip-hop albums this year. I'd say the person he reminds me most of is Rap Ferreira, just in the dedication to poetry and to wordplay. I think Rap Ferreira fundamentally has a more cohesive and deeper meaning to his work than Aesop Rock does. I'm not saying that makes it better. I personally like it better because of that, but I don't think that makes it inherently better. But I do think that it would be fun or interesting to see both of them on tour, kind of highlighting the importance of poetry in hip-hop. At some point he says, "You're laughing because I'm different, I'm laughing because you're the same." That's just funny. All Day Breakfast featuring Homeboy Sandman has these vague Middle Eastern sounds, this cool bass. The drums actually remind me a little bit of Takeover, the Jay-Z song, you know, produced by Kanye, I believe. That's dum, 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 dum. Has that kind of stomping feel to it. And as he opens up the song, important people take mold of my footprint. It doesn't match a single fauna track in your bookends. I fashioned me a hoodie from the head of a bush pig. Push the red button. I'm back on my bullish. Whether back row throwing snow caps at the pulpit. There's another thing. This is the thing that he does. This is why I'm going to guess, and you tell me, Aesop fans. Is this the thing that he does that drives you crazy, that makes you love him so much that if someone like me even says one bad word about him, you show up in the comment section saying, I don't know nothing. I'm a yellow sweater dunder-headed moss-eating schmuck. Huh? Is that why you come to my comment sections and call me a yellow sweater dunder-headed moss-eating schmuck? It could be, because it's exciting that he's talking about snow caps in this song. The same damn candy he talked about before, where he was at the movies watching Creepshow, and now he's in the pulpit. Is he trying to draw some kind of correlation between the church and the cinema, between like religion and spirituality and popular culture? Is there some kind of, is he cooking up some kind of thing there? Is there something there? Or is he just saying snow caps because he likes saying snow caps? I don't know, but I'm getting into it. I am about to jump in to my own comment section and go back to that part where, how could you say he's not deep? How could you say he's not deep? You don't get the snow caps thing? You yellow sweatered, thunder-headed, moss-eating, what'd I call myself? Troglodyte? I forget what. The title comes up in a really another wonderful set of lines where he talks about smells like biofreeze and all-day breakfast, base pro, base layer, peacemaker, cell phone, med kit. Again, base layers. This dude is really into outdoor safety. I mean, if you're into like camping, Aesop Rock is your guy. He's the #1 rapper to go to REI with. Okay, I can tell you that. If you want to do like one of those TV shows where like rappers go and just throw all the money at the jewelers, or go to Bergdorf Goodman, or go to Neiman Marcus, I would love to have like a video of Aesop Rock at an REI just being like, oh, check out this moisture wicking balaclava, right? And then he just has this whole set of lines that I really enjoy. See you a-holes in the tempest, raise on 10-10 wins, on the ones every 10 mins, big league chew and stupid pet tricks. See, I didn't grow up in New York, I grew up in Boston, but I know what 10-10 wins is. And on the ones and every mins, he's describing his childhood in a very quick way. Like big league chew is a bubble gum that you eat when you play baseball, meant a lot to me as well. Stupid pet tricks, David Letterman. I assume we're the same age, or roughly the same age. So like just this way he's describing his youth of like this sports radio on the ones every 10 minutes. Like sports radio is very regimented and they have certain things happening at certain times. And then big league chew and stupid pet tricks, the thing from David Letterman. And now I'm Vines up red brick. That's the way he describes his success, is Vines up red brick. Almost Vines up red brick. Fizz is a song which actually starts off with the sound, like with the verse that's going to have the title in it. Through the valley with a howl and a hiss, every step on the house on a witch, any Judas into sapping, how I'm zapping, get a trowel and a brick. I am all thought crime, cowlick, and fizz. Again, I am all. I can't even count. Please tell me in the comments, oh, this is great. I need more engagement. I need you to smash the like bucket. I need you to subscribe. And I need you to tell me what is your favorite I am all line from Aesop Rock. I like I am all thought crime, cowlick, and fizz. I like the reference to 1984. I like cowlicks because I get a lot of cowlicks myself. I don't quite get what fizz is, but I like it. Cool kind of voice sample in the production here, foreign language. Even reminds me a little bit like 9 Inch Nails a little bit, the production here. The chorus comes and there's some backwards sounds, a nice sort of sample. And then in the chorus, we are not the same, heaven is a lie. Interesting idea. What is his relationship to spirituality? Does the spirit world exist or does it not? That is not a wizard is the next song. Another song, much like More Cycles, that does not have the title of the song in the song, but he talks about wizards, he talks about sorcerers, he talks about Merlin as an example throughout the entire song. Cool kind of agitating, actually no, not a cool beat. I don't like this beat. I don't like this song. I do like this song. I like the song because I like his lyrics, but I don't like the beat. These shrill sounds, this piano comes halfway through, nice guitar on the chorus, but in general there's this hi-hat metronome. It's just a little bit too aggravated. This is, again, more about his frustration at the extroverts that run society, feeling like he can't really be there. He, again, makes another reference to more urine. Dude loves urine. It opens up with true crime, fantasy, action, adventure, game show. It's all sci-fi. I'm all Play-Doh. I like data that turns brains to egg yolks. It turns royals into regular John or Jane Does. I'm all Play-Doh. That's another interesting line. I'm not quite sure if that's also supposed to be reference to the philosopher as well as the bizarre clay thing, which I was told when I was a kid. This is a weird true fact. Play-Doh was invented in my basement. Now, this is a weird thing that was told to me, okay? This is 99 Louise Road in Belmont, Massachusetts. Some other family lives there now. But allegedly, some like Harvard engineer or something lived there, and in the basement where there's lots of stuff like a kiln and stuff, Play-Doh was invented, and then the patent was stolen by Kenner. I don't know. These are these weird stories. These weird stories that just get told to me. So I don't know. That's where I grew up when I was a little kid. So maybe that's true. It doesn't seem true. It seems really not true, but that's what I was told. The song "The Sea" is a very has a cool intro before this echoing guitar before the drums come in. A very cool stereo beat as well. I really, in general, Blockhead. I like Blockhead more when he's more up front. I like a beat like this where it's doing a little bit more. My new fall coat's got strange powers. When I'm with it, I know I'm not the same without it. He says abso-smurfly nothing. He brings in Smurfs, okay? Smurfs, the great Belgian cartoon, Les Schtroumpfs in its original French language, that instead of swearing, they use the word Smurf all over the place. I just can't believe I've never heard another rapper use the word Smurf. I'm sure it's happened before, but please tell me. And also, it's true, in French hip-hop, smurfing is just how you call breakdancing, le smurf. Even though the word for smurf in French is Schtroumpf, the name for breakdancing is le smurf. The title is in the chorus, and it's all about the futility of life. Every dollar you bury under a tree, all the art that inform how you speak. Little black books stacked to the beams. It all falls into the sea. I'm sorry. I didn't know we were going to have some kind of weird existential cry here. Mixed in with that is a bunch of funny lines like break into your house, break a chair, and drink your lava lamp. This is my Jumanji, not your zombie land. There are lots of really cool lyrics like that. A cool drum fill before the chorus. Again, one of the best beats here. Then the album ends with the track Abandoned Mauls, which appropriately has kind of a cheesy 80s feel, sort of like a vaporwave sound, but not slowed down. I really like how the beat changes throughout the first verse. I really like there's a sort of a change in his flow at a certain point in the way that he says times. It opens up with this verse that was so good. Okay. I was staring off into the water, looking for some undiscovered colors. Like a blue that really wasn't, but it wasn't any others. The synesthetic cousin to the hum of his discomfort. So I realized that this rapper is going to be my brother Amos's favorite rapper ever. You know, he doesn't listen to too much new music. Every once in a while I put him onto something new, and I realized, my brother is an artist. He's a great artist, and he always sits there and tells me about all the different colors in the ocean, and it's beautiful, and it's interesting, and it's challenging because it's not just blue, it's green, it's purple, it's all sorts of colors are in the ocean. So just starting off a line with, I was looking off into the water looking for some undiscovered colors like a blue that really wasn't. When I talk again about that poetry tour I'm thinking about with him and Milo, a blue that really wasn't is a great poet. That's a great poem. A blue that really wasn't, right? A blue that really wasn't. This is what poetry can do that other arts can't do. You cannot draw or paint a blue that really wasn't. But you can say a blue that really wasn't. And your mind and my mind are picturing a blue that really wasn't. It's not that deep. Yellow sweater, dunder-headed, moss-eating nincompoop. The album, the title is In the Same Alleys We Used to Imagine Babylon, Feels Like Abandoned Malls Overgrown with Spanish Moss. This very much falls in the previous theme of the sea. This falls into the idea of society falling into nothingness, of all the things that we do. You know, the previous song about the sea talks about artistic progress, talks about, you know, conquests in love, their black book stacking to the ceiling. Here, all of our cities, everything is just overgrown. It's going to be an abandoned mall. Like an abandoned mall, that's going to be our whole society. Everything's going to crumble. Everything is going to become garbage. And we're all just going to watch it all flow away, and we are all spiritual beings, but there is no afterlife, but we're spirits, but we're chupacabra, but we're vampires, but we're werewolves, but we're covering everything in piss, but we're fighting the revolution, but nothing really matters, and everything really matters. This is a deep album, this is not a deep album. There is a blue that really isn't. I don't see the spider anywhere. He must have left. This has been a long video. Well, until next time, please tell me what you think about my review in the comments. I really enjoy, I love Aesop Rock, I do. I don't care if he's another tall, white guy with good vocabulary. I can still like him. He's great. He's really great. This album's awesome. It's awesome. Okay, until next time, there's the camera.